In an era where women were subordinate, Artemisia Gentileschi managed to establish herself as the first recognized artist in Europe. However, achieving success was not easy. She was abused against her will, and to prove it, there were several humiliating public trials, including torture. This caused a strong trauma, which she overcame through art. This is the story of a feminist icon who managed to make a place for herself in a world dominated by men. Artemisia Gentileschi was born in Rome on the 8th of July, 1593. She was the child of the Tuscan painter Orazio Gentileschi. After her arrival in Rome, her painting reached its expressive peak, taking inspiration from the innovations of Caravaggio, from whom he derived the habit of painting real models, transfiguring them into figures of powerful and realistic drama. Artemisia was primarily raised by her father following the death of her mother. It was likely at this time that Artemisia approached painting. She learned drawing, how to mix colors, and how to paint. Her earliest surviving work, completed at age 17, is Susanna and the Elders. Susanna was a virtuous woman who was wrongly accused of adultery by two elders after she refused to give in to their immoral demands. Orazio was working with a man called Agostino Tassi to decorate the Palazzo Pallavicini Rospigliosi in Rome. One day in May, Tassi visited the Gentileschi household and, when alone with Artemisia, abused her. After raping the girl, Tassi even promised to marry her so as to make up for the dishonor caused. It must be remembered that at the time there was the possibility of extinguishing the crime of rape if it had been followed by the so-called restorative marriage. On the other hand, at the time, it was thought that sexual violence offended a generic morality without primarily offending the person. Artemisia trusted him in the hope of a marriage that would never come. Orazio, for her part, remained silent on the matter, despite Artemisia having informed him immediately. It was only in March 1612, when his daughter discovered that Tassi was already married, and therefore unable to marry, that Artemisia's father seethed with indignation, addressed a fiery complaint to Pope Paul V to file a complaint against his perfidious colleague, accusing him of having abused his daughter against her will. This was how the trial story began. Gentileschi was still deeply traumatized by the sexual abuse, which not only limited her professionally, but mortified her as a person, and moreover, outraged the good name of her family. She, however, faced the trial with a notable amount of courage and strength of spirit. This was no small feat, considering that the evidentiary process was tortuous, complicated, and particularly aggressive. The correct functioning of judicial activity, in fact, was constantly compromised by the use of false witnesses who went so far as to shamelessly lie about the known circumstances. Artemisia was subjected to numerous lengthy and humiliating gynecological examinations, during which her body was exposed to the curiosity of the Roman public and the scrutiny of a notary responsible for documenting the proceedings. To verify the truthfulness of the statements made, the judicial authorities even arranged for Gentileschi to be interrogated under torture to expedite the truth-finding process. However, she wanted to see her rights recognized, and despite the pain she was forced to suffer, she did not retract her testimony. As a result, the judicial authorities convicted Agostino and, in addition to imposing a financial penalty, sentenced him to 5 years imprisonment or alternatively, perpetual exile from Rome. Agostino chose exile, although he never served his sentence. He never left Rome. Due to the abuse she received, her paintings are filled with anger towards male figures, probably a way of processing the trauma, depicting strong and intelligent women giving a unique and personal perspective to traditionally male-dominated biblical stories. We see this in the painting Judith beheading Holofernes. Here we see exactly how Artemisia sought revenge through art, painting a resolute and real Judith in anatomical detail, conveying a sense of feminine power and justice. In Jael and Sisera, Jael, an Israelite woman, kills the Canaanite general Sisera by driving a nail into his temple while he rests. The strength of the painting lies in the realistic and dramatic rendering of the scene. Artemisia captures the decisive moment with intense detail and a determined look on Jael's face. Furthermore, her artistic works went against the stereotype of female subservience. An example of this symbolism appears in Cariska and her satyr. In the painting, a nymph runs away from a satyr. The latter tries to grab the nymph by her hair, but her hair is a wig. Here, Artemisia describes the nymph as quite intelligent, and while she actively resists the aggressive attack of the satyr. Other notable works are Esther, before Ahasuerus, a Jewish Persian queen, presents herself to King Ahasuerus to ask for the salvation of her people, transmitting a message of determination and courage. Samson and Delilah, where the latter cuts Samson's hair, a symbol of his strength. Self-portrait, launching a challenge to male artists of the time. This contention is made based on the shape of the painting hand. as this gesture in the 17th century represented a challenge advanced by those confident in the strength of their abilities. Thanks to these and other works, Artemisia achieved enormous success, becoming the first woman accepted into the Academy of the Arts of Drawing in Florence. Why have there been no great women artists? The oppressive institutions, not lack of talent, have prevented women from achieving the same level of recognition that men received in art and other fields. Artemisia is a feminist idol. The painter's biographical journey, in fact, unfolded in a society where women played a subordinate role. In the 17th century, painting was considered an exclusively male practice, and Artemisia herself had to face an impressive number of obstacles and impediments. Some critics wrote, "As a woman cost her much more effort than would have been necessary for a male painter." Artemisia's paintings not only show strong and intelligent women, but her success as an artist in a male-dominated field is also a sign of strong female emancipation.